Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, in a massive push to the Vikasit Bharat vision, the government of India has cleared proposals for the 3 semiconductor manufacturing plants which are worth 1.3 lakh crore rupees. For the first time, these high-powered chips will be indigenously made. So the big question arises is, how will this position India in the global picture? Can India produce the world's next Silicon Valley, and what are the challenges that India has to face in putting up these fabrication plants? Let's start my conversation with Arun Mumpazi. Arun, quickly a response from you with regards to these 3 massive plants in collaborations between Indian companies and foreign companies are now coming together. This is soon going to be a reality, but how soon?
Hi, Megha. Thank you. I think it was a big day yesterday in the field of semiconductors in India. When we say the heading in many places said 3 more units approved, which kind of hints at 1 unit approved previously as the ATMP unit in Gujarat. However, what probably got a little less emphasis, and which is the most important aspect in the entire approval so far, is that one of the units approved is a silicon chip fabrication unit. The 91,000 crore Indian rupee investment, Tata in collaboration with Power Chip of Taiwan. This, in my opinion, is the biggest big breakthrough that has happened so far in the entire efforts that the government of India had undertaken since around 2020, 2021. First in the form of expression of interest, then in the form of releasing a policy. More than 2 years after the policy, now finally we have a breakthrough. So this is the nutshell of what has happened yesterday. It's a big breakthrough. Now, in terms of your question of where will it position India in the global picture, let me break it down into 3 segments for now for simplicity. In terms of semiconductor chip fabrication itself, it's a small beginning. The particular unit of Tata and PSMC that has been approved will take about 4 to 5 years for us to see chips actually fabricated in production in reasonably big volumes. And by 2030, it might still contribute to less than 1% of the total number of chips fabricated globally. However, it's still a very significant beginning because it will trigger, and it is hoped to help both upstream, which is the semiconductor design companies, as well as downstream, which is the chip packaging companies, in a big way, as well as influence the supply chain elements such as equipment manufacturing, chemicals, and many such elements which are related to the semiconductor fab. In other words, the semiconductor fab, I take it as the core, or the fulcrum on which many of the other things has to bloom. In terms of the chip packaging percentage of market share that India can capture, since we currently already have 3 packaging units approved, one of Micron, one of Tata's itself, and the other of CG Power, and some more applications are still pending. Perhaps by 2030, we might see India being able to capture close to 10% of or so of the global market share if we really focus on that, or
Right.
if we really push for that.
Okay.
Finally, on the design space, right now, even though India contributes a lot in terms of semiconductor chip design talent, there is still a big lack in terms of big semiconductor chip design product companies owned in India. We are still in a startup mode, but I hope that the presence of a fab in India will help these startups to test their chips, take it to the next level, and eventually, hopefully, we will see Qualcomms and MediaTeks and AMDs coming out of India again by
Okay.
2030.
Okay. Venkamata Sudhakaran, quickly a focus on how the silicon reserves are primarily concentrated in China, South Korea now and Taiwan. How do we move from a global supply chain that is China-centric to the world focusing on India as an alternative to semiconductor chips being created and exported?
See, as far as the compute industry is concerned, what we talk about and know of semiconductors is today's reality. We already stepped into the era of machine intelligence, and digital intelligence of tomorrow are very well poised to design compute algorithms as well as compute hardwares of the next gen. So the next gen compute algorithms, will it be silicon based? I'm not very sure. That is something that we need to keep in mind. And therefore, so far, one of the points that I have highlighted in my while authoring the technology vision document for 2047 for India is that we need to understand the next generation designs are going to be out of the wombs of machines. Today's, the compute requirement, the compute hunger that is there for advanced AI algorithms is primarily based on, semiconductor-based GPUs. But this is where we are looking at new realms of technology, which comes from the quantum space, wherein there is a play of quantum resonance along with the AI, wherein one is going to feed into the other, and quantum AI resonance could be a significant, potently a very big weapon which could come into existence in the forthcoming future. So, do we need to worry about China? I don't think we need to worry about it as much as it is being made out to be. But then, yes, can we do something about it? We can't do something about it. Mm-hmm. So the wise man will always look for alternatives. India has alternatives. The alternative is in investing in deep tech research. Finding alternates to these problems of cutting edge compute that is coming out. And to me, quantum AI is the next big thing which is going to hit, which people have not realized so far.
Okay.
We are still yet to come terms with the chat GPTs and its likes. But then there is a long way to go, and we will see evolution actually accelerating and gaining pace in the near future.
Arun, I'll come back to you. And talking about a company like Qualcomm, which at this point of time is, imperative for every single product when it comes to telecom, when it comes to mobile phones, when it comes to automobiles, these chips are utilized. Now, there are patents that are peculiar only to Qualcomm. Can a Qualcomm be built in India as well, an indigenous company that is going to be all pervasive across the globe, how Qualcomm is currently?
Great question, Megha. Let me first start off with saying that, many of the products, if you see, not necessarily just computer chip designs, patented chip designs or intellectual properties, but in general, even, other software products, if you see the inventor list, you're more likely to find many Indian names there, as part of the inventors or the patentees of that product. A similar thing happens in the semiconductor design space also. Almost any chip, any major chip that is designed anywhere in the world by some of the biggest, whether it's fabless companies like Qualcomm or AMD or MediaTek and so on, or integrated device manufacturers like Intel or ST Microelectronics, there's a big contribution by the Indian semiconductor design engineers. By Indian, I mean of Indian origin. They might have a different citizenship. However, what has been lacking when it comes to, and by the way, some of them work out of India. However, what has been lacking is our strong Indian-owned design companies, which can employ these semiconductor design talent, so that the intellectual property is itself owned in India or by Indian companies. I will not say that the presence of a semiconductor fab is the only factor that was missing so far. There are multiple factors that is missing so far, including the appetite for risk taking and to break away from the mentality of let's go for the simplest way of making money, which is through services and so on and so forth. So a lot of factors, but I would say the presence of a semiconductor fab in India on Indian soil is also one of the factors, because many of these companies, many of the startups struggle that once they have their design taped out, to get it fabbed in one of the big semiconductor fabs and to get back the silicon for what they call as the silicon testing. Sometimes it gets delayed. They probably get only one shot at it, and so on and so forth. And I believe that the presence of a semiconductor fab in India will make a big difference. As I
Okay.
said, that's not the only factor, multiple factors, but hopefully this is a good beginning where all of these can come together, and we can definitely see, maybe not to the size of a Qualcomm as of now, but at least 1/10 or 1/5 of the size of a Qualcomm in the near future will be a good beginning.
Ajitwa, quickly a response from you with regards to the government policy and the government will in being able to provide infrastructure for these companies to build, for providing infrastructure for foreign companies to come and hold these associations and agreements and memorandums. And this builds the foundation of what India is going to look like in the future. What more can be done by the government?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes,
Please
Ajay.
go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ajay.
All that I wanted to say was that this is a beginning, as has been said by my two very learned colleagues who are professionals in this subject. We need to do this, and I would welcome it, what the government did yesterday by approving 2 projects of Tata's and another of the CG Group, this Reliance side of it. We need to be constantly doing these things. And I realize when I see this that far more subsidy would be needed if we want to get all the, whether designers into designing companies into India, the R&D companies, and the testing, packaging is one unit covered, whether we are talking of marking, assembly. All this is a huge ecospace, which if we want to ultimately become a base for semiconductors. And there again, I would distinguish semiconductors of 1 nanometer, which is what everybody is aspiring to be, or 28 nanometers, what Tata's are indicated they would be making in Dholera as of now. The world has moved on. For certain applications, advanced applications, very fine nano sizes of fabs are needed. So this is I would say and totally agree with what has been said, that this is a beginning. We have to be on the job and match our $10 billion budget for encouraging semiconductor in India is puny compared to what's been offered in the United States, Europe, Japan, Taiwan, even Taiwan as well as Korea. But we have our own set of priorities. We are now jumping in from being an ordinarily low technology manufacturer to wanting to leapfrog into an advanced one. So support from the government, financial, I would say one hell of a lot needed. Otherwise, the manufacturers have a choice. Assemblers have a choice. Designers have a choice. Which country do we go to? Where do we get greater government support? And I've named 5 or 6.
Right.
All of them would be willing to match us. Second, we need to continue to have with us the one great advantage that we have technical staff, professionals who are doing excellent work when they are outside India, in the US or elsewhere in this field. We want to start doing here. So the government would have to be setting up, taking initiatives to support, whether it's a designing company like a Qualcomm or IMD or these media, so it is a good beginning, but which is someone or a country like us, if we are going into it, much more support over the years, not just one shot.
Yeah.
We need to continue to support that over the next 2 to 3.
Ajit, quickly a response. You spoke about the $10 trillion economy that India is at this point in time aiming towards, the third largest economy. Now, having exhausted all our means when it comes to services, when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to the core industries, whether it is about the real estate, we talk about construction material, we talk about steel, we talk about cement. Now, they can only achieve the GDP growth of the country to a certain extent. There has to be newer technologies like silicon, like the semiconductors. We talk about AI, as Vinkamata Sudhakaran mentioned. What is their share of the pie that will allow for India to speeden up its growth to the $10 trillion that we are looking at?
I think going into advanced technology is a very desirable measure. I am in no way saying that we should not be going there. All that I am saying is, in order to make our presence felt, in order to make these industries contribute the kind of expectations which you just talked of in a $10 trillion economy compared to three and a half now, much more can come from there. And I think that what is required is that during the gestation period, the implementation period, research period, it's going to be long, but that is the future, whether it is in semiconductors, whether it is in AI, or, things like the future is not going to be exactly semiconductors made of silicon, as was pointed out. It could well be some other material. So we should be ready that if somebody is coming to us in India, what is the reason? One, large markets. One, second, a lot of professionals to be able to do not only the semiconductor assembly and other things, but all the supportive action. But technology is going to be moving, not wait for even a generation to finish. 2 or 3 new sets of technologies in every generation, which will make the previous investment probably obsolete. So let's be mentally ready. If we are going into advanced technology, we should also be ready to take this financial risk.
Vinkamata Sudhakaran, there are also strategic interests in terms of the associations and collaborations that India as a country is having, particularly with Taiwan. I talk about the investment opportunities that have gotten the light of the day with the Taiwanese and the Tata company coming together and building this semiconductor plant, the foundry. About the fact that there are geostrategic areas concerns that have to be brought into mind, because in the past few months there has been an increased overture that has been made by Taiwan towards India's skilled labor, and in terms of how Taiwan is looking to align with India to fight a common enemy, which is China. Now this serves both countries' aspects, interests as well. So how smoothly does it go forward in India's foreign policy and India's semiconductor growth policy?
See, Megha, I think I will be an odd man in this particular question, because I, first of all, have a very different narrative for the future. For you to even understand where I come from and why I say what I say, there are 2 big reasons for that. When you talk about China, semiconductors, the Taiwanese overtures, you're talking about yesterday's problem and today's headache. I don't want to live in today's headache. I want to live in a future wherein, as the Prime Minister wants India to be a global leader. If we need to be a global leader, we need to be a technology leader. But for us to be a technology leader, say in the next 25 years, we need to understand what technology will be relevant in 2047. And if that is where I want to tell you that I will be sticking my neck out, I will stick my neck out to say probably semiconductors will be obsolete by 2047. The reason why I'm saying is because if you actually look at the compute industry or the way that semiconductors operate, there is only so much that you can do with semiconductors. You can't pack infinite number of transistors into a square inch of real estate of semiconductor. It has already hit the rooftop. Usain Bolt cannot run beyond what, it is very impossible for human beings to cross even Usain Bolt's, marks. So there is only a finite, there is a mortality to what semiconductors can achieve. So the future will unleash technologies. AI algorithms are already so compute hungry that the LLMs that are in operation today demand something like 6,000 to 10,000 GPUs of the H100 class. Now, what we can infinitely do is scale these numbers to a million or a billion and a trillion. But that will only give us a certain kind of an input at a certain rate at a predictable linear curve. But technology, the way it is evolving at an exponential rate. So you need to understand, Sam Altman, I'm given to understand, is trying to raise something like 7 trillion USD. That is 2 times your GDP. What is he going to raise on? He is probably going to build some advanced AI capabilities on what he's already built. And please understand that these capabilities cannot run on semiconductor devices. This is where I don't know how much people understand, but quantum AI resonance is the technology to watch out for the future. Because if machines start designing the next generation of quantum computers, which are still slightly a bit away today for a human mind, we are entering into a new territory. Which means the computers of tomorrow may necessarily not be working out of a semiconductor. This is what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
so when you
fair
talk
enough.
about future, we need to talk on real future technologies, not on technologies that guided us yesterday and are giving us a headache today. So we need to get invested in
That's an
those
interesting
futuristic
point. Arun, quickly a response from you. How do you view the future in terms of the questions that have been raised by Ajit Dua as well as Wing Commander Sudhakaran, that the technology of today is going to be obsolete in the next 30 to 40 years? How should India move forward in cutting that gap? And can we be the pioneers for deep tech and future technologies that the world, the rest, particularly the West, is looking at?
Yeah, Megha. So, with all due respect to Wing Commander, first of all, India already has a national quantum mission in place with around 8,000 crore rupees allocated to it. If respected Wing Commander is not part of that, I would really request him to be, part of it and contribute to the ways he can. Now, I have no doubt that there is definitely multiple views to this point. There is a certain number of people who strongly believe, and there could be business interests, there could be personal opinions in this, saying that quantum computers are going to soon replace the semiconductor based computers. Now, if I remember it right, IBM's head of the CEO of IBM himself has said that that's not going to happen pretty soon. Technically speaking, the way I understand it is, right now the need for quantum computers exist in certain areas which are for the problems which are not solvable by the classical computers. It will take a much longer technical discussion on this debate. Also, on another point in terms of the hardware that is needed for the quantum computers, right now there are multiple solutions looked at the quantum hardware, one of which is still semiconductor based. And if I understand it right, some of the companies who have come up with a 100 qubit and so on and so forth quantum computers are still semiconductor based. Secondly, the other option that exists in terms of quantum computers is superconductivity based, which needs extremely low temperatures and the good old ENIAC style of rooms to maintain. So these are not going to immediately replace your computers or mobile phone chips which are semiconductor based. So I'm not against India investing or looking at futuristic technologies. Definitely we should, but I don't agree with this certain kind of scaring that is being done, that you're all of this is going to go away right away, why are you investing in obsolete technologies? I absolutely do not agree with calling them obsolete. They are not obsolete until proven so, and neither is computers the only thing that the fabs that are coming up in India are there for. You have microcontrollers, you have display controllers, you have so many other things where you need chips for. You have about yesterday the minister had said there are about 5,000 odd chips or 3,000 chips and so on that are there in every automobile, in aeroplanes and so on and so forth. By the turn of a switch, these are not going to be replaced by the so-called quantum chips, which by the way do not exist as of now.
Right.
So let's not do false scaring. Let's be realistic. Let India pick it up at the speed which is needed right now. At least for the next 15 to 20 years, for sure there will be the necessity for the kind of chips that the fabs that are going to come up in India. I can guarantee you that. After that, whatever is going to happen by 2047 and so on, sure, please come and join the national quantum mission that the government itself is driving. Contribute towards it. Prove yourself. If you're an Indian, there is, by the way, for all the stock that comes from Indians in terms of quantum computing is a future and so on, so forth, there's still not a single quantum computer that is made in India. The hardware is still not made in India. Not even a few qubits are made in India.
Right.
Please do that first.
And
Please
therefore,
do that first.
yeah.
And then we will talk about the future.
Okay. All right. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views on this very important subject, moving towards high-tech technology. And this time around, where India is going to be, at this point of time, a potential hub, can it actually cross that mark from being a self-sufficient chip manufacturer to being able to export it to the rest of the world? On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.